everybody, welcome to Oh God, what are you watching? My name is Matthew Lang. My pronouns are they, them. I have a new guest today. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, Cody. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Oh
I'm
my
so
God, this is
happy.
so awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so my name is Gerald Fernando, everyone. I don't know why I said it like James Bond. My name is Gerald Fernando.
It's a great introduction, though.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, even though I haven't
Yes.
seen any of it. I'm not really a big James
I don't.
Bond fan, but
Neither am I. I'm like, I get it. Spies. I don't care. It's
exactly,
okay.
exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, where do I start? My name is Gerald Fernando. I live in New York City, Astoria, the borough of Astoria to be exact.
The address and everything. No.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that.
No. I know Gerald from TKTS. We worked around there for many years. And we were
Too
both.
many years.
Oh my God, I know. And like, I think me moving to Georgia was like, you gotta stop. You gotta get out of there. So I
Was
was
the
like,
universe
okay.
telling you,
It took a
cut?
pandemic. I know. It took all that, but I finally got out, and I'm like, I don't need that anymore. It was ruining my life. So I'm glad you also got out too. And what do you do
Yeah.
now? What's your deal, or what have you done since then?
Oh my God. Well, just back to that time. I'll tell you about what I've been doing, but I actually love that time being a promoter for TKTS obviously because I met you. Like working in TKTS, doing promoting for Off Broadway. I'm not just buttering you up because it's your show, maybe a little
Yeah,
bit.
thank you.
No, because
Well,
we were just doing promoting at TKTS, the discount ticket booth. Like we were among different types of artists, whether it be actors,
mhm.
filmmakers, film enthusiasts. It was just great to be like sort of in that setting, even though we weathered through the storm quite literally, and
We commiserated together, which was wonderful.
promoted some really bad shows.
Uh-huh.
But
Yes.
what have I been doing since then? So since leaving TKTS, my passion has always been film and trying to break into film. And I've been doing some digital content on Instagram. I post a lot of stuff on Instagram. I recently started an IGTV show that I am working on more episodes for. It's called G Factor TV on G Factor
Yeah.
on IGTV. So I'll talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, since then, in terms of work and jobs, jobs that sort of pay the bills, I was an audience coordinator for Good Morning America for 4 years. I worked on The View for 4 years
I
too.
got to go. That
Yeah,
was so fun.
I don't know how I reeled you into that, but
I
thank you so much for
it
enduring
was
it.
a
But
whole experience. I don't know why I went on the day Condoleezza Rice was there, but I got to go to the view, and that was fine.
yeah,
So
you and J Ray, right? Remember that?
yes, yeah, a few people. It was really
Oh,
fun
I
though.
apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, everything that I've done has been like around like tourists and the public. For some reason, I can't get away from like tourists,
Oh,
basically.
I know. Well, you do so well with them. I mean, you
Yeah.
got them to go see some stuff that they probably wouldn't have wanted to see even
Yeah. We're not
before
gonna
and
do anything.
after the situation. So you do well with them, so it's good.
But in my free time, I've been reading books about line producing. I would love to start producing independent film shorts. I would like to do feature films. Like, hopefully, I can do that. But so I
That's
try to immerse
amazing.
myself in that. So
Okay.
yeah, it's basic. It's a slow process, just learning and doing all of that. But I listen to podcasts every day.
Mm,
I'm reading a good book on line producing by Maureen Ryan, I believe. I forget the
okay.
name of the title, but I will definitely. I don't know the title of that, but
But we're also going to be discussing just like coming of age movies in general, like the fun 90s ones that we all loved, mostly starring Thora Birch, which were the best. So, yeah, okay, so growing up, was there certain movies that you, I guess, fell into, like stuff that you really enjoyed or connected with that kind of helped you with your growing up experience at all?
oh my God, yes, yes, totally.
Mhm.
You know what? I grew up in suburban Long Island, and it's so funny because I really appreciate the year I was born. I was born in 1981,
Ooh.
and I have an older brother and older sister. My older brother is 10 years older than me, and I used to just like follow the movies he was watching, and like I would listen to the music he was listening to growing up. He was really into MTV in the 80s, and
Mhm.
he was also really into John Hughes films
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. So I I really got into the genre of teen movies through the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Obviously, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And I just remember having there was a VHS copy sitting in my house. I think my brother had taped it off of HBO or something, and I just watched John Hughes that like Ferris Bueller's Day Off repeatedly.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that movie. And like, if there's one character in that I can compare myself to, or that I would want to be or aspire to be, I would
The
say
principal.
Ferris Bueller is that.
Oh, yes.
or Grace, the principal's assistant.
Oh yes, perfect.
Because of John Hughes, like I've always gravitated towards the teen genre. My friends always joke with me that every movie that I love or every movie that I pay attention to or take seriously has to have teen angst and lockers in it. That's sort of
just
the prerequisite.
So yeah, I mean, high school is such a shitty time for a lot of people, but also people learn a lot about themselves. And Breakfast Club was one that I grew up with, and my family kind of like forced on us, and then we would just watch it repeatedly. Me and my brother loved it because we were like maybe like 6 or 7 when we heard it, and they're like, they're saying the F word a whole bunch. So we were like, stupid, worthless, no good, goddamn. We like had the whole thing memorized and would always like scream it, and my parents would be like, stop. So yes, I definitely understand that.
Yeah, and there's just something about the teen genre, and like it didn't stop with John Hughes movies. It really led into the 90s as well. And I don't know. I grew up out in Long Island as a teenager. I'm a queer Filipinx, and I don't know. I just really didn't fall into any sort of clique. I just tried so many. I don't know. I was just really like coming into my own and into my identity at the time, and I just lived so vicariously through these teen movies where I would just watch them. Like everything that was in a teen movie, I would like. Basically with house parties in high school, like I would have to, like my view of a house party in high school, which I was never invited to, was what I saw in movies like, say, Can't Hardly Wait,
yes.
American Pie, I think 16 Candles, like those sort of things. I just picture like a gigantic house. I mean, none of my friends had like big houses like that.
Yeah, I was like, I wish that was a thing.
They had like ranch houses, 1 story, and they didn't have that many people there. But like, I always loved these like colorful parties where they had like everything there. Like it was like 2 floors. The parents were away, and like there was always something interesting going on in every room.
I always wondered how like those house parties and these like bigger suburban and like rich family places, how they got like almost all the cliques to come together, even if they weren't like invited, and sometimes got beat up if they showed up. But I was always like, everybody just shows up to this place, but I guess it's like all around the school, and like gossip gets around and shit. I was like, we didn't really we had those here and there, but they'd be like, go out to the cow pasture and over there, and we can go get fucked up in the woods next to our trucks and stuff. So you'd have to like search for the party.
Exactly.
Did you go through, because I mean, like with Ghost World and a lot of these people are going through like different phases and stuff. Was there anything like any like specific phase that you like kind of went on? Because I definitely did. I was wondering if you like went through anything odd specifically that you were like trying out, and then maybe were like, nah, I don't want to do this. Anything?
Oh my God, like high school. And it's funny because I went to a high school where Filipino people were considered like to be like the popular sort of Asian.
Oh, okay.
Because we had very pretty cheerleaders very pretty Filipino girls that were cheerleaders. So like they were hot. So like I was considered cool by association.
Oh, amazing.
So like,
okay.
So I mean, I had some Filipino friends who I hung out with, and like but they were trying to sort of identify who they were, and like they sort of like dressed like ghetto and wore like Tommy Hilfiger and like Nautica. So I used to drape myself in that sort of clothes.
Whatever really was happening. Yeah.
But so I wore like an oversized like Tommy Hilfiger polo shirt, but then like for some reason I like Jenko jeans a lot. I like those. So I wore like the big, the big Jenko jeans that were almost sort of like bell bottoms. You remember that brand?
Yes, I had plenty of those. I did.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
So like my upper half and my lower half were two totally different genres of fashion.
Yes.
I just like sort of walked through life like just like not wanting to offend and just wanting it was almost sort of like a people pleasing thing where I just wanted everyone to sort of like me in high
Yeah,
school. So
and I think a lot of people go through that stuff because I did the same thing for a little bit, or I tried to in like high school. I was very weird and had only a few friends at first, and I remember I think it was 7th grade or 8th grade. I went full like Hot Topic punk goth where I had like platform shoes and like spikes coming off and steel toes stuff, and I
my
had
God.
those pant legs that were nuts and like chains and stuff like that. And I did it, and I was just like, yeah, good Charlotte. And I was just like, I'm not knowing a damn thing about anything. But I was like, no one else in my school is doing anything like this. And I was like, I think this is fun. So like, my gay ass is just like, I just want to
Yeah.
stand out. So I
Yeah.
did, and some people picked on me, but I luckily had a brother that was in my grade as well, and he was popular, and he kind of kept people away from hurting me. So like the friends he was friends with would like not pick on me because they'd be like, oh no, that's Brett's sibling, we can't do that and stuff. So that helped me a lot, especially when I came out in 9th grade. And then
wow.
that was a thing where and this is in South Carolina, Pendleton, which is a very small town, and I got to the point where I was like, I can't even hide it anymore, which I'm not someone who can like just lie. I'm terrible at lying. I have to like, I'm always just like, oh, I have to speak my mind and stuff. And I came out, and that was a whole experience. And I was like, oh, now that I'm out of the closet, I'll probably get like boyfriends. Well, no, I still look like a bridge troll, and I did not know how to, I did not understand myself. And that was the thing where I like ended up coming, like looking back, coming to terms of like not understanding my own gender or anything like that, because I didn't understand what was going on in the mirror. And I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know what I look like. I don't know who to be. I don't understand it. And, eventually getting older and looking back and be like, oh, non-binary is something that like was something that came in, and I was like, oh, this is what this is for me, and this feels so much better now that I know what the fuck I am as a person. But yeah, that whole struggle in high school was such a pain in the ass, but luckily I was
awesome,
one of
Tony.
like two like queer people out in high school, and the other one was like the one everyone picked on, which really good friend. I won't like say their name or anything. They were really sweet, but they were like the one that everyone's like, well, if we can't pick on this one, we'll pick on this one. And I would be like, y'all stop, cut it out. But overall, I had a better experience coming out in a very small like southern town than I think a lot of people did. But that was because of like the privileges I had of like the brother with me, and I had drama class is what made me like come out, and like, which I think that's like a lot of gay people's like stories, like drama class, I came alive. And I'm like, that was when I was like, oh, I get to express myself when I was so quiet for so long. And yeah, so I also clung to movies too, which helped me through a lot of different things as well. So especially not really knowing how to fit in and stuff. So I can understand that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Movies were definitely my life as a kid, and just into high school. Like I like even like Friday nights, Saturday nights, like every my entire summer, I would just like I luckily I had parents who would like let me go to Blockbuster whenever I want, go to the independent video store. So
The church,
they,
yeah.
I mean, they of course they encourage me to go out and do stuff, and I
Be
played
social.
I did soccer and karate and stuff, but they
Oh,
knew
shit.
that they knew I had a love for film, and that is not going to.
Were you
that is
really
not going to
into
change.
athletics and stuff? Is that something that you did, or were
No,
you kind
no.
of?
I would,
It was just a costume.
my dad essentially picked a sport for me to join, and he's like, "You're joining fucking soccer. You're joining soccer." And
no.
I think he saw the Karate Kid, and he's like, "The Karate Kid's great. You're gonna do karate as well." So
Yes,
my
go
brother did
beat the shit
karate,
out of
so-
people. Yes. What other like specific '90s films did you kind of lean into, or ones that helped, like coming of age ones that you enjoyed a lot? Because I didn't really get into like the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days stuff. I liked the American Pie ones because they were like raunchy, and I was a kid that wanted to see stuff that wasn't supposed to be for me. And I love Drop Dead Gorgeous because my dad's side of the family's from like Minnesota, so I was like, haha, they have the same accent as my grandma, and I loved that. And there's one that a lot of people have not talked about, but this is from like the I think it's 80s or 90s, like it's like late 80s or early 90s. But have you seen Big Girls Don't Cry, They Get Even?
Oh my God! Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes!
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So,
No
all right. So
one
that
ever
movie.
knows that.
Yes. All right. So Cody,
Yes.
that movie was so that movie I first saw the trailer for. It was on the VHS
Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Yes.
Turtles too. And
Yes, it
it
is.
it had a different title. It was called Step
Yeah.
Kids.
Yes, I know. I always
So it's
tell
called
people
Step
about that. That's so funny.
And-
I'm so glad you know what that is.
And it's so funny because you notice how I had to think about like the coming of age movies, but then we landed on the same one. That's why I love you, Cody.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's so great.
so yeah, so Step Kids, and I was like, wow, this movie looks really good, and it has
Yeah.
that girl, it has one of the sisters from Home Alone.
Home Alone.
And,
Mm-hmm.
had a
Kevin,
really
you're
good-
completely helpless. Yes, I love her.
yeah, but like after actually seeing the movie, I think it was on the movie channel, which is like HBO for poor people.
Oh, yes. I understand.
Which I had.
Oh, me and my brother would just wait for it to come on all the time because we loved it so much. That's
And I
so
just
great.
kept thinking, I'm like, why the fuck did they change the title from Step Kids to Big Girls Don't Cry They Get Even?
I
First of
have
all,
no
it's too
idea.
fucking long.
I
of
do
a
not
title.
get it. Yeah, that I was. It's so weird because I remember trying to look it up when like the internet was starting to be a bigger thing, and I was like, why can't I find it? And I didn't really know what to do because they didn't have any like physical media of it. My brother actually got it a few years back, and he's like, "Yo, look what I got!" And he like gave it to me, and I had such a huge crush on Dan Futterman, who was also in Will and Grace for like an episode or something, and I think he wrote
my
the
God,
screenplay
yeah.
for Capote. But I had
Really?
like, yeah, and like I had such a huge crush on him from this movie and stuff. Of course, like as a kid, not really knowing, but I was like, go see the stepbrother, he's cute. Yeah, so that was like a big one for me too, because I was, any time where you were a kid, like where you're like, I'm gonna run away from home, and then like seeing someone actually accomplish that. And except like, it kind of reminded me of like Into the Wild, but with that one doesn't end well. And that's based on a true story. But like someone who was like, I'm just gonna go and do my own thing, and she eventually goes back to her family once the family realizes that she's such a good part of their family. And even though there's a bunch of them, they still focus on each other, and that family is bullshit in that movie. So I was just like, oh, okay, I can get on board with that. But the other like I think the other ones were, I loved horror movies. That was the thing that I like.
Yeah.
That was like my like, those were my like comic book movies in a way, where like
Exactly.
the anti-hero or like villain origin story things. That's like the stuff that got me excited as a kid.
Yeah.
And so when I saw like younger people in danger, like Jamie in Halloween 4 and 5, I was like, I connect with that, and little things like that. That was in the faculty. The
Oh my
Faculty.
God, yes. I was totally gonna talk about like teen horror movies but I know that's like an entire episode
Oh,
in
yeah.
itself.
Yes. But they're
'Cause
so
I'm like-
good.
Because you said coming of age, and I was gonna bring up every one of Kevin Williamson's movies. I don't know
Oh,
if that
yeah.
counts, but in a sense it does, because
Yeah.
because he really does delve into the characters. Like you said, a movie like The Faculty,
Mm.
it is the Breakfast Club meets Body Snatcher.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. But today we're gonna talk about specifically the movie Ghost World, which actually had its 20th anniversary. Just I think it was in June or July. It was pretty
Yes.
recently. Yeah,
July
so
20th.
it's something that we have connected, you and I, over the years, and it's one of our favorite coming of age comedies.
What drew me to actually renting the movie, I just remember seeing the Ghost World box cover. Usually with like teen movies, especially of the time, late 90s, early 2000s, it's always like a group of teens, like American Pie, like
Having
they're
a
all in
great
group, and-
time.
yeah, and you see like Tara Reid's boobs, you see her
Yes.
cleavage, like that. But with Ghost World, like
Just-
even the box cover was so simple yet
Yes.
so intriguing to me. It's Enid and Rebecca like staring off into the distance, like into some unknown fixed point.
The void. Yes.
Yes. And then the tagline on the movie on the box was accentuate the negative.
Oh shit!
remember that?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's the
that's
Official
amazing.
tagline of the movie.
That's
So
great.
I rented the movie. I watched it with one of my best friends at the time. We watched it at their place, and like it was just really refreshing to see at the time. It was just a movie that takes place like what happens when you graduate high school. Like that, like the first scene of the movie, it's like they're at a high school graduation, and like you already get a feel for how Enid views the world. And,
Yes.
and like just like
Yeah,
her
'cause it's
roll-
supposed to be
her
this-
first eye roll. I fell in
Yeah.
love with her at our first eye roll. Like, with
Absolutely. Well, that was like great because it starts with this like poor girl who got in a fucking car wreck, and she's like has this thing like cage around her head, and she's in a wheelchair, and that's where she starts like high school is the training wheels, and then she's like like this poor girl has gone through such a traumatic thing in her life, and Enid's like, oh god, and I was just like, oh my god, this bitch, and then they bring out those like that like the school rappers who do the like graduation song, and it's just you get immediately transported into this world of just like everything around me is so stupid and ridiculous and no one else sees it but Enid and Rebecca, and you're just like, girl, I feel you, like immediately.
exactly.
Like I understand, and I'm already on board with you. Yes.
Yeah, and after seeing it once, I immediately started to view the world that way.
Yes, absolutely. And then I was like, oh
Like,
shit.
everything was stupid to me. Like, oh my god. Like,
Yeah, and I
like,
went to Six Flags the other day too, and I was like, I'm surrounded by the characters of Ghost World right now, and all I want to do is set myself on fire.
Yes.
And it's based on a graphic novel or comic book, whichever way you want to say it. And you said you have that, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I actually have it right here.
That's so great. And you got the shirt, which is fantastic.
Yes, I got this from
I love
Forbidden
it.
Planet. Love
Ooh.
it so much.
Yeah. So how did you... Okay, so Enid, whose last name is Coleslaw in the...
Coleslaw.
Yeah, which I was wondering why... I'm assuming they didn't bring it up in the movie, really, just because it is such a cartoonish, like, last name. But she is someone who is... Her and Rebecca are friends. Rebecca's the one that gets the more attention from like guys, and Enid is very angsty, going through like she goes through her phases more, I feel like, where Rebecca has just kind of been there along the ride and probably I guess feels bonded with her because they can kind of commiserate with each other. But I think Rebecca is someone who like grew into her looks, I guess, a bit more and started getting more attention. And you start to see their relationship start to drift away after high school, even though they had these plans of like not going to college. They were just gonna fuck around and do what they wanted. And then you start to see that Enid is kind of wants to stick in that place of I don't know and just kind of live life without actually looking at anything seriously, where Rebecca starts to get a job and realize that she needs to, I guess, stop looking at things so superficially. And that's when things kind of go south. But do you want to explain who they meet along the way?
So another character that they know very well, a friend of theirs, is Josh, played by the late Brad Renfro.
Brad Renfro.
Oh my gosh. I think
Yeah.
that was one of his last movies. And,
Oh, yeah. I know. And he was in Bully as well, which was like a darker movie, but yeah, I liked him. And they meet him at he works at the convenience store, which also has its... Oh, yep, the Sidewinder. Hello, young employee of the Sidewinder. I love it. They go there to fuck with him. And I also love where they try to stop by his house. They get him to, like, drive them around places all the time. And, you know, he's busy doing a job while they're off, like, fucking around, still trying to hold on to their, like, youth, basically. And they, like, stop. I love when they stop by his place and he doesn't answer. And then she's like, we came by to fuck you. Signed Tiffany and Amber. And just, like,
yes,
pick something up and leave it. They have no like regard for anybody else and like what their experience is really. They're just like, oh well, they're just like characters in our lives instead of like these are real people that actually have complex feelings and other things going on with them. So that was fun. Because every time I watch this movie, I get different feelings from it. Because when I first watched it, I thought it was fucking hilarious. I thought Enid was amazing. And I was just like, I love her so much. I think she's great. I feel that, like, anger against the world. And I feel, ostracized in a way where I cannot connect with 99% of humanity.
Yes.
Yeah, and even, like, seeing... Seymour, who is the person they try to play.
Yes, let's talk about Seymour.
Yes, so how did they meet him exactly? Oh yeah, they're going through like little paper and they see a classified that's like, or no, he put in a classified looking for the pretty blonde. And he's like, oh, did we have a moment? And so they're like, oh, we gotta call this guy and pretend to be the blonde. So they call and set up this whole date at Wowsville, the authentic 50s diner, which is not... authentic at all.
Oh yes.
So then they go and they force poor Josh to come along with them, and they go to Wowsville, and Steve Buscemi, who is Seymour, the guy from the ad, they meet up and they see him at the at Wowsville, and he orders a giant vanilla
glass of milk.
He just ordered a giant glass of milk.
It's a vanilla milkshake.
And they end up realizing that their little prank makes them feel very uncomfortable and awkward, as if, oh, hey, their actions have consequences for maybe not them, but other people. So they see this poor guy, and then as he's like driving away, they realize that, you know, he's a little uptight and crazy because he almost gets in a car wreck, and he's like, fucking pieces of shit! And they're like, oh god, he's insane.
He's insane.
So they end up... I think they see him again, or they follow him, and they find out where he lives, and they go through his mail.
They find out he's part of the National Psoriasis Foundation.
Yes, and they're like, oh, bingo, this is him. And
God, the details in this movie.
Yes, I know. And then they like go to, and he's having like a sale outside, like almost like a little garage sale, yard sale with other people in his building. So they go walk up, meet this guy, and he's like obsessed with old records, and that's where Thora Birch's character Enid kind of finds him a little bit more fascinating, where she's like, oh, well, I actually enjoy these records, while Scarlett Johansson's just like, oh god, why are we here? This guy's a fucking loser. And so she ends up getting a record from him because they feel bad for him, because he's just like this little guy who's very quiet, kind of buttoned up, and just like has his own little world and stuff, and they are so bored that they just want to kind of invade, or at least Enid wants to get into this person's life and try to understand them a little bit more. Of all the characters, how have you related to them like throughout the years? Have you been like me, like flip-flopping between the characters as you get older?
Oh no, 100%. So I would say so I first saw Ghost World in 2002. That's when I rented it at at a Blockbuster, and I was in college, and I felt like I was going through an Enid phase. Like I was definitely like trying to figure out like who I was. I actually wasn't out of the closet yet. That's another story, but I don't know, like I was trying to figure things out, and I had a sort of like, I would say that Enid in a sense just has a somewhat negative outlook on life and to certain people and everything, and I sort of like adapted some of her traits. So I felt like I was more of an Enid character. I even wore glasses like her too. Yeah,
as I'm doing now. I've never grown out of it. I hate everybody. It was shortly after it came out, but I think maybe a few years later, because I was like maybe 13 or 14 when I first saw it, and I was flipping through, like, I think it was the IFC channel or something, and I was like, literally was just like, Thora Birch is in a movie, and I loved Thora Birch growing up, so I saw that, and I was like, oh, this will be interesting, and I loved the way she looked. I thought she was fantastic, and I watched it with my brother. It was like midnight or some shit, and we were laughing so hard, and we were trying not to wake up my parents and stuff, and I just remember falling in love with it then and just being like, this is the funniest fucking movie I've ever seen, even though it gets like pretty dark along the way, but it was something that I just thought was so funny because I related to Enid so much, and it just ended up being a thing that I connected with my brother with a lot too, because he would watch weird shit with me sometimes, and that was like one of them, and we connected with that, and we would quote it literally all the time and just go around being like, oh, it's so funky, and just do that all the time.
Oh my god. So yeah, I was definitely an Enid in the earlier college years, I would say, after I first saw the movie. But I feel like as I get older, I feel like, and I try to become like more responsible and everything, I've adapted to some sort of Rebecca's traits.
Yeah, just trying to like get by and fit into the society that you don't really want to be in. So even up to this day, I feel like I've really become a Rebecca, but I'm also a Seymour too. Like there are certain. Yes.
There are certain moments I just want to like just be alone with my.
Yes. I mean, that's me collecting my Blu-rays, like, just like, everyone leave me alone.
Like, and I sometimes say that to myself. I can't relate to 99% of humanity.
All the time. That's especially like when I'm like trying to go on like dates or something. I'm like, why the fuck am I doing this? I was like, I'm not gonna meet anyone I like. Which reminds me of like the scene when when Enid and Seymour, she's trying to set him up at like the bar when he's trying to go see his favorite jazz singer or jazz performer, and then she tries to set him up with just some random woman there who I think is a bartender. Even what is that what she was doing? Because she's behind the bar, and then all of a sudden is like doesn't have to work anymore and just comes and sits down. We're like,
I think you're right. Yeah, she was just sitting there. Yeah.
Maybe her shift was over. I don't know, but it's so great to watch that kind of the date happen between them, where she's just like, oh, I love jazz. It's so fun, or blues, and because they're gonna have Blues Hammer, the also offensive like jazz blues like cover band, where it's all these white guys and they're like, I've been plowing the moves. And she gets up and is like, and he is just like mortified because he's stuck like just trying to like connect with someone and then can't, where they're like, oh, maybe I can because she likes blues, but she's like, she's more of I guess dabbles in it, where he's like, I have submerged my life in this, and this is who I am. And
and he wasn't really happy with her answer, like, because like she was just have you ever heard of Blues Hammer? But like he was just wanting to have like a more in-depth discussion about music, because I guess he's just more passionate about it. But like,
and I have had those conversations with like, well, because I end up getting to conversations like on dates or something, like, oh, like what kind of movies you like, where I have like one thing I enjoy and it's movies. And so I'm like, have you seen that? Like people will just be like, oh yeah, I love, I don't even know, some like, I guess like a Marvel movie or something. And I'd be like, oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess this is only going to go so far. And it's like, and it's just, I've also become, I guess, a lot more open. And that's why I've shifted between the characters, where at first I felt like Enid and Seymour, and now I feel more like Bob Balaban's character, Enid's dad, where he's just trying to find his spatula. And I'm like, that's me.
You know what? One character that we did not mention, who I feel like I've related to, and I can't believe we have not mentioned. When I was an audience coordinator working at like GMA, I very much felt like a Melora.
Oh, you have to. That's that whole performance,
dude. What?
It's like, hey guys,
hey guys.
Oh my god. Okay, so there's so many great characters. This character is just fantastic. I honestly just wish
tell everybody about Melora. We should spend a little bit of time on Melora. I know we're jumping around.
We see her. Okay, yes, we can jump all over. So first of all, we open on graduation with one of my favorite opening lines, which is, high school is like the training wheels for the bicycle of real life. And then we see how they are immediately like, oh god. So after this, they like have their little graduation party, and at the party they run into an old school acquaintance named Melora, who is that one who kind of like, she reminds me of Melissa Joan Hart from Can't Hardly Wait, where she's like, can you sign my yearbook? Like that one who just wants to be friends with everybody and just thinks she's friends with everybody, but clearly just probably annoys the shit out of everyone. And she comes up to the girls and just like, hey, we graduated, just with these like stock answers, or like stock questions and like comments, that stuff, like, which, you know, there's people that come up and have those very superficial kind of conversations, and she's that person, and they're immediately like, hi, Melora. She's like, we graduated, everything's great, what are y'all doing? I'm gonna take some acting classes, and blah, 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 blah. And then they're just like, we don't know what. Anyways, and then she's like, well, I'll see you guys later. And they just make fun of her, rip her a new asshole.
Definitely hang out. And then Enid's like, that'll definitely happen.
Yes, like, which I was like, I connect to that very much, where I've had so many people be like, oh yeah, we should do this. And I'll be like, sure, let's plan it. And I'm like, okay, which I've been trying my best not to be, you know, that dick. And I'm like, okay, this will be fine. But there are people like that, where I'm like, you have an energy that I can't spend too much time with, and that is Melora.
That's one of the things. That's one of the things about Ghost World that I really loved about it when I first saw it, is that it really nails those characters, those people in high school that we, like, as Enid said, oh, we're probably never gonna see these people again. Like, and it's funny, like that scene where they're at that like graduation dance, and then they see that little nerdy kid, and she's like, oh, we're never gonna see him again. And
Rebecca's like, good. And Enid's like, no, it's actually incredibly depressing, which I think that was kind of the beginning of Enid realizing that, oh shit, we're about to all like grow up And she's like, nah, I don't want anything to do with that, and kind of continues on her way for a bit.
Yeah, and even with all these characters, the major and minor characters, another really great thing that Ghost World really nails is like just like the look of the extras and everything. Just all like just the people, like the attention to detail in the people.
Yeah, it's you immediately know those people. They might seem like a bit like animated or like extra, but you have seen these people. These people are around. There are characters that you're like, oh god, they're like the guy who comes into the store with his shirt off, like the redneck, like America guy. It's like, learn the rules, brother, and has like his little nunchucks and stuff. And it's like, I know people like this, and even Maxine, the dad's girlfriend, where where Enid thinks she's awful, even though she's this very sweet woman who's, I guess, just very homey, like a homemaker mother lady kind of type, and that is not anything that Enid wants to be around. And she's so sweet. It is fun to see all these different characters because just them being themselves is hilarious enough, and I think it's great. And that was just, I think, so great to see too, where it's like these weird relationships. There's all kinds of relationships and relating to different types of humanity in certain ways, but still, struggling through it all as well, which is what she does. But it's something that I relate to a lot because growing up I was a lot angstier and a lot angrier at the world, and then as I got older I still hate it. Living is annoying, but you start to understand that people are complex and there are different things about them, and life is more than just looking at it superficially and trying to I guess struggling your way through that. There's things that you can do that you enjoy, and I think it's weird because she tries to go that route, but then she doesn't really succeed because she starts to realize just how much she just doesn't want to do. She doesn't want to, and that's when her and Seymour end up like having their moment where she's like, oh, I think I found someone that I can actually relate to. And then they cross the line and have sex. And then she's like, oh, wait, never mind. I messed up. Where another one of her choices ends up fucking up someone's life. And she does it while she's drunk. And, of course, she's younger as well, which Seymour, of course, doesn't really... I think he has a hard time... He also has a hard time relating to someone, so he think he found someone and stuff, and he actually is, like, dead set, like, oh, this is the person I get to be with, and she is still at her age where she's like, I still haven't figured stuff out. And so, I know this is bouncing around, but with the ending, you know that people say that is her, she's going to, like, commit suicide, or dies, and I was like, apparently that, people say that about the comic book and stuff, but I don't really see that. I see as her kind of like starting over, and she like leaves on a bus that wasn't supposed to ever be there again. Where they usually run into Norman, who sits at the bus stop, and he's waiting for a bus that never comes. And then towards the end, it finally does, and she's like, "Huh, okay, well, I guess maybe waiting around might actually, I don't know, prove something to me, or I might actually get something instead of forcing myself into this world." And then she just kind of leaves, and it ends on that. So I'm like,
yeah, I definitely did not see it as a suicide, but that's been repeated so much. I hear that director Terry Zwigoff is like, okay, that could have happened. He just said it like that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's like, it's subjective.
That's an explanation.
It's subjective, and it's like, I think it's definitely a path she could have taken, but I don't see her, I honestly see her being too fearful to do anything like that. I think she's still going to work her way through something anyways. And I think maybe her and Rebecca, their relationship may not actually continue afterwards, because I would like for it to, but I think, have you had friendships that you think are gonna like last forever, and then you start noticing that y'all start drifting away?
Oh, totally.
It sucks.
Yeah, Enid and Rebecca's relationship, like that point where they're sitting together on the bench, and like they're like, she's like, call me. Like I felt that was like the end. That was like the death knell to their friendship. It was like the end of it. And I think I've been in that situation a handful of times.
Yeah.
Like with some of my gay friends and straight friends.
Yeah, and it happens because then your priorities shift and your
Yeah.
different you start hanging like even if especially getting like new jobs and stuff you start
Uh,
being surrounded by different people and you kind of just like adapt to that kind of I guess way of life and then it just becomes like more comfortable as it goes along and then the other stuff like kind of drifts off and
exactly.
your focus shifts a bit and while it can be I guess upsetting in a way as I think as long as you're taking care of yourself mentally physically whatever it's good because I found myself where I like all these people I used to party with all the time and then I stopped drinking and doing drugs and shit and then I was like well I don't know if they're going to want to hang out with me sober. I don't really know what to do with them now because I know them through being a complete trash can. Not to say that they were, it's just my choices and I leaned into that and that was kind of who I was and I had a very specific way of handling people and now that I'm like sober it's like okay this is someone that I would find it difficult to be around because I don't have those like crutches of alcohol and stuff to like delude myself in a way of becoming someone that's comfortable around these people. So yeah, it becomes weird because you lose these like great moments that you may have had, but you're also trying to open yourself up to something new. And I think Enid does that in the movie where she tries to go towards some kind of possibility where she might actually find something exciting like Norman did. Norman got his bus ride.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and with Enid, I feel like with the remedial art class, and remember she after she was praised by Roberta, the art teacher, for that work that she brought in, and that was featured in featured in the art show. And
Yeah.
do you remember she was offered that scholarship to go to?
I know that's devastating
Yeah.
that she's
But remember this, Cody. Remember, like when she was supposed to go to that art show, like she invited Seymour to go to the art show, and she was like, "You should come with me to this stupid art show." Like she had to like dress. She had to say it was stupid. Like she
Yeah.
couldn't even admit to herself that this is something she could possibly be interested in.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at that open-ended ending there, she gets on the bus. Like I don't necessarily see that as like a sad ending or a suicide or something. I mean, she's probably still trying to find herself and maybe and being that like how old is she in the movie? Is she 18 years old?
Yeah, probably 18, I'd imagine.
She just graduated high school and like you and I like we've been through so much since that age and we go through phases and she's probably in her 30s, like she's probably a little younger than me and she's probably still trying to find herself. I'm still trying to find myself. And who knows, maybe Rebecca is still trying to find herself.
Yeah.
Maybe like
Seymour finally moved out of his mom's house, maybe.
no, you actually never know. Maybe Seymour's not alive.
I know. Yeah, that was the sad ending for me.
Did he have like a back problem? You wore like a girdle.
Everything. Yeah, I know. He had all kinds of shit going on.
But what I'm thinking about Enid, like there could be a possibility. I know we don't really have the answer. Maybe Enid and Rebecca like reunited and then they tried to work things like become friends again. Maybe Rebecca like got tired of the whole job thing and like working at the Starbucks and like being responsible, and then she wanted to sort of rekindle that friendship with Enid, and like maybe like she went through a phase where they started to hang out again, and who knows,
you know what's funny with the criterion that I got, it came with like a little comic inside that's like where are they now, and it's kind of fun. So it has like them, but it's more of like these are possibilities of what could happen, which I like that they kind of gave you like a what's happening with them right now, because there's so many possibilities, there's so many things that could happen, and that's something that I think everybody is doing their entire life, where they're also like, well, what next? What's something else to make me happy, to make me comfortable? And some people get stuck, and then some people keep continuing to find that. And I think she's someone who even though she didn't want to grow up and be an adult and face these kind of tougher things about life, she finally, it seemed like she in a way at the end cut her ties, where she's like doesn't have Rebecca holding her, like not like forcibly like holding her down, but she doesn't have that anchor of like my fun friendship from high school or Seymour or any of that. She goes off and is just like, I'm gonna go experience something new, and maybe that'll help her see things a little differently because she's just in high school and has been stuck around the same kind of environment, and maybe she'll go off to somewhere that'll open her eyes to something she had no idea about because she's been stuck in that like pool of where she is. And I think some people, I'm sure people from like your school that kind of stayed around town and didn't really do anything else. And I think that's a big fear for some people too, which it was for me, of like, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be, just someone who doesn't leave and experience things and stuff like that. And for me, it was a thing where it's like, I'm going to go to New York City. And that happened. And I felt very like similar to her in a way where it was good to go out and explore and see what else there is to offer, because there's gonna be some happiness out there. You just gotta try to fucking find it. So
no, exactly.
Yeah.
And I could honestly see Enid, like I could look at the positive side of things, and maybe Enid did do something with herself. Maybe she became, we saw her illustrations in that book, and maybe she became like a Robert Crumb-esque artist or something, and she's like living in New York. Who knows? Like
and I think
I could totally picture that.
I think that would be cool if she follows through with her art, considering that someone actually gave her a bit of like encouragement, and she almost got that scholarship, but she fucked it up by kind of talking herself out of it, like scare, which a lot of people do that. They scare themselves into not actually trying. And I've been guilty of doing that as well, where now I'm actually trying to do something else with my life, where I was scared for like most of my life I've been scared of driving, and I finally just got my driver's license because I was like, stop being a shithead. Thank you. And I was like, you can do it. I was like, there are assholes out there that are driving around all the time, and if they can fucking do it, you can too. And I was like, fine. I was like, I can do it. And I started just being like, I can do this. This is just how I can do it. If they can do it, I can too. So then I was like, and I got more comfortable. So it's a lot of, I think, convincing yourself and almost in a way like deluding yourself to like get to a point of encouraging yourself. And I'm hoping, even though she's so cynical, that maybe at some point she'll step back and realize like, oh, I'm capable of doing more. And I think even Roberta, the art teacher, helped her see a little bit more of that. And hopefully, that helped a little bit, even though she didn't really get what she wanted in the end. But I hope she finds it.
I mean, one thing that I always noticed about Enid, just like, you ever just like rewatch the movie and you just see little things in her room, like the stuff that she puts on her shelves, like the little dolls and the little things she pins to her wall and stuff. She's clearly somebody that she knows what she likes, and how do I put this? Does she know what she doesn't like? Or does she know what she...
I think she likes very specific things, and if it's not those, she hates it. So it's like, she's like, it is not this, so that's fucking stupid. Yeah. Which I know, I think we've all gone through similar phases like that. She doesn't want to blend in with society, and I think she'll go through any way of dealing with that and approaching different things just to feel different. And I kind of relate to that as well, as where like when I started watching like non-English films, where I was like, well, and it was something that I didn't care about at first, and then I watched like Pan's Labyrinth, and I was like, oh, people are doing really cool shit not in America. And I was like, why isn't this kind of shit happening here? So then I started exploring, and I was like, why is no one else watching this shit? I was like, if y'all aren't watching this shit, y'all are idiots. And that just kind of became a thing that I fell into as well, where I was just like, I relate to Enid. I was like, everybody else is just stupid. And like, I'm gonna dye my hair green. So it's like, that's what I love too, like, because I connected to that too much, where I was like, God, I was such an irritating fucking teenager. And but I feel like it's something that you're constantly learning as long as you allow yourself to, where
right.
And I didn't for the longest time, where I was just like, no, everyone else is dumb, I have it all right. And it's like, no, I don't. I'm still learning, and I will always be learning as long as I'm open to it. And that's kind of helped me also like shift my perspective a bit too. And I think people are capable of that if they allow themselves to start trying to understand human beings in general, instead of just looking at everything so superficially, because people are complex, and there are a lot of different things that affect a person in their lives and stuff like that. And I think she begins to see that later on, and because I definitely did, but there are people like older than me that I still am like, I mean, Republicans. You try to talk to them, and they're just like, no, this is just how it is. I don't want to learn nothing no more. And I'm just like, okay, well, you're acting like a fucking 13-year-old. So, yeah. And so I'm glad, I'm open to learning constantly, and I wish more people would as well. And I hope Enid got there at some point, too. Yeah.
I have all the faith in the world. Like Enid got there, and then like in the age of reboots and revivals and these continuations of like film series that they bring back like decades later. Would you ever be interested in seeing a continuation of Ghost World? Say that Terry Zwigoff and Daniel Clowes decided to collaborate and just continue Ghost World. Would that be something you'd be interested in seeing?
Yes, I was like, as long.
That was a loaded question. I was expecting you to say yes.
Oh, well, this is the thing. I can't say that I would be like I would immediately love it or anything, but I would 100% be super curious, especially if they bring back. Because Thora Birch disappeared, basically, and that bitch needs to come back. I love her. I want her. She showed up in little things here and there. Like, she was in The Walking Dead for a little bit, I guess, and she showed up towards the end of The Last Black Man in San Francisco, and she's, like, in one scene on the bus, and that's it. And I was like, that's Thora Birch. And I was like, there she is. She's still on the bus. That was the thing. And I was like, she never left the bus from Ghost World. And she just ended up in San Francisco. So I was like, oh, great. Now maybe she'll get off soon. But I know she had a lot of trouble with her parents growing up, like Macaulay Culkin did, like all like the issues with the parents fucking up her life as like a child actor. And that like screwed her over completely. And I think maybe now she might be trying to make a comeback. And I hope she gets welcomed more and more. And if they approach her to do another kind of weird spinoff, I don't know how they'll do it, but if they bring back Thora Birch to play Enid, I'm sure Scarlett Johansson would want to do it because she's over with Marvel now. She's done with all that. Like, bring back these people. I would love to see them. And I know it's kind of like, it's very much in that weird thing that people are so used to there being a continuation. Like, there has to be a continuation. So I'm not someone who supports it, but if it happens, I'm like, well, okay. We'll see it. Yeah. Let's see it. I'm not going to be like, this needs to happen, but if it does, I'll be like, well, I'm not going to not see it. I have to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely want it to happen because I like you absolutely love Thora Birch. It's just like that is the role that really like she really stood out in. I mean, she did all those little movies as a little kid, like Hocus Pocus and All I Want for Christmas.
Now and then,
yes. And then American Beauty, like.
Yes.
But Enid is the character that like that is. She should be so proud of that role, and
she was so great. And she fit
great, yeah.
It was like the perfect casting because she looked so similar to the character. She had the exact same like demeanor that you would expect. It worked out so perfectly, and I think it's something that was upsetting that like that kind of was like one of the last big things I think she did. And then I think she maybe did like some Lifetime movies here and there and stuff, but like that was it. And she, people really took to it and gave her a lot of attention, and then she just kind of fell off, and I was like, why? I was like, that was like you about to like skyrocket into something bigger, and I'm sure she was going through like other things and stuff, but I would love to just see her return more and more and get more comfortable in front of the camera again, I guess,
exactly.
and tackle all kinds of stuff. I think it's possible because a lot of people are like from the 90s are making more of a comeback. Like Devon Sawa is trying to come back, who is also in Now and Then and Casper, and and he's going to be in the new Chucky series, which I cannot wait for.
Oh my god, me too. I saw the trailer yesterday.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Yeah, so I think she has a thing where she could definitely come back, and everyone fucking loves her from Hocus Pocus and knows her. People know who she is, and now if she were to come back and be like, "Hey, I'm back, y'all," I think she would be welcomed with open arms. So I'm ready for it, and I'm just gonna write Terry Zwigoff, whatever the fuck he's doing right now, and be like,
who I miss. Like, what was the last movie he did? And
I only remember Art School Confidential or something. Wasn't that something he did?
Yeah, and then he did Bad Santa after that.
Yes.
And that was a very successful Christmas film. And
it was.
Consider it to be a perennial Christmas classic in its own way. It has a cult following. It's one of the movies I watch every year. I absolutely love Bad Santa.
My brother got me into watching that too, so I understand.
And even
Yeah.
that movie had some sort of that post world vibe to it, that humor to it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's like a bankable how he became a bankable major director. So I would like to see him like go back to his roots and do Ghost World or do something. And then Cody, I forgot to mention this, but I was a big Columbia House CDs guy at that
Oh,
time, like
okay.
late 90s, and I think into early 2000s. I believe I definitely got Columbia House CDs, and one of the ones I bought was the Ghost World soundtrack.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yes, and I was obsessed with the soundtrack. I loved it so much that I took a video production and editing class in college, and I one of my projects was to make a documentary, a short documentary. The subject of the documentary was an old movie theater in Oneonta, New York, in upstate New York, and I needed some good music to play in the background while I show pictures of the old theater, the way it looked then and the way it looked now.
Yeah.
And I just stole music from the Ghost World soundtrack
That's
and I
great.
cut it in. But
That's so great.
the Ghost World soundtrack became the soundtrack to my life, and there were points in my life where I was having a bad day and I just really didn't feel like I fit in like my
Mm.
dorm or wherever I was living, and I would just I would do what Enid was doing. I'd be standing in my room like this, and I would play Devil Got My Woman, like I'd rather be the devil.
Yes, I totally feel you. I would do the exact same thing, just in my room, just like I love you, the devil, and then play it again. Like, oh my god, that's hilarious.
I feel like there's just so much more.
Well, that's what's amazing about the movie too. Though it I think people think that it's going to be more of like a simplistic kind of comedy, but there is so much depth to it. And I think
Yes.
anytime you watch it, you're going to relate to different characters. You're going to feel certain ways about stuff. Because there was one point when I watched this movie where I was just like, oh, I actually hate Enid now. Like, I don't like her character. I think she's obnoxious. I think she's annoying. But then I got even older and was just like, it's something that, is very relatable and like something that you can see yourself having gone through. And it's not something that I really have anger towards. It's something that like I pity, where I'm like, I want you to see more out of life than you've actually been able to see. And like, once you like look back on that and see that like not having the awareness of knowing that this is something that is temporary, hopefully. I mean, who knows? That's not always the case. But if you try to find something better, if you try to change your perspective in a way, or like experience more things, you'll start to open yourself up, I think, to a better places and better things you can do for yourself. And that's what I love about it, is that I do connect with different people each time, and anytime I watch it, I do feel differently, and it's something that I would not expect from this movie. Yes, okay. I want to thank you so much for talking with me about all this stuff. It's been super fun having you, Gerald.
Thank you so much. It's just really nice that we share this really amazing movie in common. And just to end on this note here,
Yeah.
what I absolutely love about Ghost World is it's a movie where that just sort of, you watch it and it just feels so real, and it's a movie that just happens. Like, there are so many movies, like teen movies, that are coming out now where you feel like everything is just so contrived. There's, when the inciting incident's gonna come in, but with Ghost World, like it just has its own like magical quality to it. It's something that
Yeah.
cannot be explained, and I absolutely love it, and I could still watch it till this
Yeah.
day, like
That's
even as a
what
40 something.
Yeah, like it thrives on the specifics that it tackles, which I think is great. It doesn't try to go by a certain formula of like teen stuff. It has a lot
Exactly.
more to say. Yeah, and I think that's what's so exciting about it, is that it covers a lot of bases and not just like a certain aspect. There's so much to it, and that's why it's great to constantly revisit it. And I hope
Yes.
more people see it. And I'm so glad you're the one person I know besides
Yeah.
like my brother who has seen this and loves this. So thank you for talking to me about this,
Yeah, it's
and
been
I
a
appreciate it.
funky time.
Oh my god!
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely love the show. Yeah, I would love to come back and talk more film. So my Instagram handle is at genuinely Gerald. So my second Instagram, my celebrity lookalike Instagram, is at celebrity close encounters.
Yeah, that's so great. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye.